Hello and good afternoon. This is a short video to really discuss a little bit about mental health and the discussion, especially for men, in terms of their own mental health and the stigma involved in it still. I'm a massive fan of Andy's Man Club. I think that the work they do is absolutely sensational. Whilst I myself have never been to an Andy's Man Club talk and group discussion, I personally have, for many years really, spoke out about mental health, especially my own issues and my own dealings. Just to try and break down some of those barriers that people experience. I've personally found from my own experience that me talking about it has quite often enabled other people to open up and be able to discuss those things as well. So, a bit of background on myself. I probably knew around the age of maybe 7, 8 years old that I was different to other people. I couldn't have told you why at that young age, but I knew that there was something very different about me compared to other people. I knew that I didn't think the same way, I didn't feel the same way. Emotionally, I wasn't affected the same way that other people were. And I knew that, I mean, the biggest feeling I had was that I didn't fit, was that I wasn't right, I didn't fit in with everybody else, and I was a bit of an alien in the world, in a world that I didn't really understand and didn't really fit into. I first started having suicidal thoughts when I was around 8 years old, which culminated in me at 9 years old first trying to commit suicide. Probably at that age didn't really have a concept for how to do it properly, but knew that I didn't want to be about anymore. I knew that I didn't want to be here. I had those feelings that everybody in my life would be better off without me. I felt that my family would be better off, my mum and my dad and my brother would all be much better off without me. It was just the way I felt from a very young age, just knowing that I didn't fit in, knowing that I didn't have a place and couldn't find my place in the world and couldn't find somewhere to fit at that very young age. This probably went on for many years, or it has gone on for many years. For me, when I was younger, the biggest thing was it wasn't a physical thing. It wasn't something that I could say to people and show people and go, "Hey, look, I've got a problem here. This is it. This is what's causing it." When I was younger, it was very much stigmatized. People didn't really know how to talk to me about it. People didn't really know how I felt, and at that age, I was in no position to really explain my feelings to people. I knew that they wouldn't understand. Even at that young age, I knew that the way I feeling wasn't going to be easily understood by people, and that they wouldn't get why I was the way that I was and why I felt like that. I just knew that that wasn't going to happen at that young age. At the age of 21, 22, early 20s, I developed alopecia. It was stress related, and I lost all my hair. That was kind of the first time that my problems had physically manifested themselves in a way that was visible to people. And at that point, people instantly then knew there was something wrong. People started asking the questions then. I also had the good fun that comes with alopecia, is that people pointing and standing and laughing in the street, and people's ignorance is something else that I found that is quite similar in a lot of ways to mental health, is that people just don't understand it, and when people don't understand something, it generally scares them and they react quite badly to it. So I had a lot of stick over it, a lot of people pointing, a lot of people laughing, and it became something that was a vicious circle. The more I stressed about it, the more people laughed at me, the more people said something, the more I worried about it, the more my hair fell out, and it was a very vicious cycle. I ended up having about a 48-month period where I didn't go out my house without a hat on. I just couldn't. I got to the stage where it had just become so much of a thing for me that I just knew people would point and look and ask the questions and laugh. So I just stopped. I luckily had and always have had really good family around me, and I've been blessed to have some really special friends in the world as well. A couple that, despite everything that had happened, despite who I'd become as a person, I wasn't happy with myself. I'd turned into somebody that I really didn't like, trying to be what everybody else wanted me to be, and was really unhappy. I was lucky enough to have some people that I found I could talk to, and when I started talking, it didn't really stop. I was sent, with my alopecia, I was sent to see psychologists and shrinks and various bits and pieces, none of which personally helped me. I found that at that age, going back 10 years now, 2006, 2007, it still wasn't that well spoke about. There was still a lot of stigma attached around it. And I was, still learning to deal with it myself. The psychologists, what they were doing was just, I was speaking to one person and they were saying, no, I'm not the person to deal with it, but you go to the next person and this person's going to be the right person. So I'd go to that person, I'd sit down again and start at the beginning and go through everything again. And then they'd say, no, sorry, I'm not the person. You need to go see this person, this person's the right person for you. So after this cycle of 4 or 5 times of just reliving my worst nightmares again and again and again, because if for anybody who's been through any struggle and trauma, you know yourselves that as soon as you talk about it, if those feelings and those emotions come flooding back. So all I was doing was just reliving everything that I wasn't happy about again and again and again. At that point, I realised that that wasn't helping me. It was making, if anything, it was making me worse. It was making me much, much worse. And I needed to find my own way to cope and my own way to deal with things. I started trying to find myself as a person at that age. It was a very, very late age to try and find who I was as a person and what would make me tick and what would make me happen. But I probably started that journey when I was about 22 years old. By the time I was about 25, I luckily had kind of come through the other side of it. I knew who I was, what I wanted out of life, what was going to make me happy. I'd managed to drop the labels that I'd picked up through life. I was very much a self-fulfilling prophecy in that I'd spent many years being told that I wasn't going to be as smart as my brother, I wasn't going to do as good as my brother, and I became the ultimate self-fulfilling prophecy where I gave up in my mid-teens and just thought, yeah, I'm not going to be as good as him. Why am I trying? But I still didn't fit in, even though I wasn't as good as him. I still didn't fit in amongst friends, so I changed myself as a person to try and be what everybody else wanted me to be. And I hated my fucking self. I hated myself with everything I fucking had. I couldn't stand to look at myself in the mirror. I literally had to remove every mirror from my house because I couldn't stand to look at my fucking self. I couldn't stand to see myself. Couldn't stand to look at myself, hear my own voice. None of it. I just didn't want to be the person that I was. I didn't want to be alive, essentially. I just didn't want the life. So I had a choice at that point. I could have give up, or I had to try and start again. I knew at that point I didn't want to hurt people with the committing suicide and giving up. Apologies, I just had to run and sort my daughter's dinner out. So yeah, I knew at that age then that I didn't want to hurt people, and I knew it was going to hurt people at that point. I had some good people in my life at that point. My best friend, above all else, I'll give her a shout out here, Mona. I absolutely love you with all my heart and soul. She accepted me for who I was. It was the first time in a long time I'd felt accepted completely who I was. And it allowed me to grow. It allowed me to grow as a person. It allowed me to understand myself, explore myself, and really know what I needed to tick me over and get me through life. So I managed to come through the other side of it. As with all mental health, it never goes away. I will never have sunshine and rainbows and unicorns and lollipops. It's never going to happen like that. You learn to live with it. As with any long-term illness, you learn to live with it. You learn to cope. You learn your own coping mechanisms. I have a bad day. I'm the worst person in the world to be around. My wife and daughter are just absolute diamonds. How they put up with me on my bad days, I'll never know. How they help pull me out of it. And to a wider extent now, my mum and dad, I've over the last few years talked much more to them about how I felt, and it's helped me come through it. And it is that talking. A lot of people will probably see this video. A lot of people who know me well know the story because I'm quite open about it and we'll talk about it. People who don't know me well will probably look at this video and go, nah, what a whining little bitch. That is entirely their opinion. Everybody is allowed their own opinion. My opinion is that you're a fucking ignorant bastard. If you don't want to take the time to try and understand what somebody's going through. Everybody's situation, everybody's perspective in the world is different. My perspective is going to be vastly different to my wife's, who's Thai and grew up in a completely different country and a different religion, different upbringing. Everybody's allowed their opinion. Everybody's going to have a different opinion. My wife didn't understand mental illness when she got with me. She didn't get it. She didn't get what was sending me off, what was making me tick, what was really dragging me down, and my personal battles and beating myself up over it because I'm my own worst enemy, and I always will be my own worst enemy. One of the things that's really brought all this home to me is Chester in Lincoln Park. I watched the interview that he did from kind of a couple of months before he committed suicide, and he kind of was talking about, you know, that everybody thinks that, you know, everything's great, but up in here's not a good place to be. This is, you know, if this was a street, you wouldn't turn down it because you just know it's a bad place to go, and it's that part of town that you don't want to be in. And that's probably a very, very, very good analogy for how it is. It's not a great place to be in my head a lot of the time. But then at the same time, sometimes it's the best place in the world to be, because I've learned to get past it. People's opinions, thoughts, what they say affect me much, much less these days. Sometimes it still gets to me, but for the majority of time it doesn't. I don't give a fuck what people think, what people's opinions are of me, because you are in my life, you are going to change my world, you aren't my wife, you aren't my daughter, you aren't my mum, you aren't my dad, you aren't my brothers, you aren't my club, you aren't the people who've had my back, got my back. You just, you know, you aren't going to affect my life. The only reason I'm doing this video is because, you know, if this video helps one person, if this video gets to one person and helps one person open up and talk who might not otherwise have done, it's been worth it for me. You know, I can't change the world overnight, but if I can change one person's life one day at a time and just help them to open up and overcome their obstacles and their own feelings, then that makes this video and me opening up about all this 100% worth it. It's a battle, and it's always going to be a battle. You're going to have good days, you're going to have bad days. There's going to be days when you don't feel like you can carry on, but you can. You've been through those days. You've been through days like that before. You've had the bad times and you've come through them. You 100% can get through it. You can stay strong. You can keep working towards being the best version of yourself. You'll have shit days. I've had a really, really bad week or so. Very, very depressive bad week, where I've really, really struggled. Just for various bits and pieces, you know, lots of things that just factored in, lots of little things that have just pushed me and made me realise that I've got to a point where, you know, I need to kind of take a step back and sort myself out again and try and get clearer again, just to try and be happier around my wife and daughter again. I'm lucky enough to have them too, because they give me a reason to pull myself up out of the shit when I'm fucking wallowing in my own self-pity and sorrow. They give me a reason to pull myself up and out of it every single time. So, you know, but for the majority it is for myself. While they are there to pull me out of it, it is me who pulls myself out of it. It is me who gets myself up and dusts myself off and goes back in for round two. Every single time it's me who keeps swinging and keeps taking the blows. So, you know, whilst I have had some great people around me, there's nobody who can take credit for it more than me, who's got me to this point. I have worked my fucking ass off to get through my struggles and my problems and my issues, to be a good dad, a good husband, you know, a good worker, a good employee, all those things that you need to tick over in this society that we live in. So, yeah, I just hope that if any of you out there are having struggles, any of you are feeling like you can't talk, that there's nowhere to turn, that things are too much, there are places. Reach out to Andy's Man Club, reach out to myself in a comment or a video. I'm always here to talk to anybody in the world who is struggling and feels like they're alone, because you're not. We are all human. We all love, we all bleed, we all feel. I'm always here for anybody who needs that support and that channel to release. So just absolutely love the work that everybody does out there. Just keep fighting those barriers, keep pushing back and kicking those walls down, and just making this world easier for everybody to live, because that's ultimately the goal, really. It's just the dream that everybody can just get along and be happy in their lives. There's not much more that's needed out of life, really, than just to be happy internally and satisfied with your lot and what you've got. I'm very, very satisfied. I have everything I ever wanted, and everything I never dreamed I would get. I have it all. I have everything. Kingdom, castle, queen, everything. Dogs as big as horses, the works. I have everything I ever dreamed of and everything I ever needed. So it can be done and you can get there. Just absolutely love each and every one of you out there. Just keep staying strong, keep fighting the good fight, and it's okay to talk.